Okay, so here's the second video. I do have my notes here because these are the things I wrote about this topic that I researched. This, again, if you watch the disclaimer video, you know what this is all about. But I went on Google Trends. I went and found that the number one topic for like 2 weeks was, for weight loss, was this guy Mike Pompeo's weight loss. Now, as I said in the disclaimer video, get it out of your system right now. Either say boo, say yay, but after that, turn off your political brain because we're here to learn more about losing weight, not enforce our belief systems and our will on the rest of the world. So here's the deal. I go on there, I find out about this guy Mike Pompeo. I found out he lost about like 90 pounds in 6 months or something ridiculous like that. And so what I'm thinking is, all right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make, what was the guy, Sarnak, the Magnificent or whatever it was, the guy that Johnny Carson used to do, right, where he'd have like the clue and then he'd figure out what was inside the envelope. He would make the prediction. Here's my prediction. I said before, I didn't know who Mike Pompeo was before this. I didn't care about Mike Pompeo before this. I still don't care about Mike Pompeo. All I want to know is what he did to lose weight so I can give you valuable information. So what I did earlier this week, when I found out this was the topic that I was going to cover, I made some predictions to all my clients. And I understand this isn't science. I wasn't locked in a laboratory. This stuff wasn't written down in a sealed envelope like those people who bring out the Oscars, the Oscar winners. But I did make these predictions to my clients, so maybe one or two of them can do their own video and say, yeah, Shank really did say this earlier in the week. So my predictions were, for Mike Pompeo, we lost all this weight. I predicted before I knew what he did. And my predictions were 3 things. My predictions were, number 1, something in his life, or multiple factors in his life, had to change massively for him to lose that amount of weight. And the reason why I know this is true, without even knowing anything about the guy, is Mike Pompeo lives in the United States of America. The United States of America is the most obesogenic country probably in the history of the world. How do I know that without being a historian? Well, I'll tell you how I know that. Because I believe the United States is probably the only country in history where the poorest people are also the fattest people. Right? Every time I hear a personal trainer go, oh, we're going to solve obesity. No, you're not. You're a personal trainer who rents yourself out at $85 to $75 an hour, way above the budget of most of the people who you think you're helping, right? We're the only country in the history of the world where our poor people are overweight and our rich people are both overweight and fit, right? Usually in most countries nowadays and in the entire world, the poor people starve to death. So when you're trying to lose weight in the United States, and I'm not telling you, like, oh, I'm a victim, the deck is definitely stacked against you. You live in a country that is obsessed with weight loss, but demands lava cake after having their rack of ribs at Applebee's, and if they don't get it, they act like they were ripped off, right? So something massively in his inner circle and inside of him had to change because nothing in his country changed. His country is still two-faced when it comes to weight loss. Say one thing, want something completely else. And also the fact that the country is, oh yeah, that's it. Okay. The second thing I said he had to do, besides he had to change something massive, he had to follow a moderate exercise program. Why? Because most normal people are not hardcore bodybuilders. Most hardcore people, and this will feed into the third topic, they suck at effort, physical effort, not other effort because they are very successful people in other areas of life. They suck at physical effort and they suck at hunger. Can't deal with either one of them. If you don't believe that, go type in bodybuilder death face and see what bodybuilders look like before a show while living in the most obesogenic country in the world, and you'll understand what true suffering is all about when it comes to dieting. Right? But something he couldn't do a hardcore workout program because he wouldn't have lasted. Even people who do boot camp programs do really well with them, do them for about 6 to 8 weeks and then need to back off or their bodies start falling apart. So we had to follow an exercise program because that's part of kind of the whole lifestyle of it. It helps facilitate weight loss. It's really, really bad for average people to lose weight because they can't work out hard enough to make that much of a calorie burn difference. So it had to be moderate. I think I had something better than that. I had something better than that rehearsed in my head, but I knew he had to follow some kind of moderate exercise program or he still wouldn't be here. And the third thing he had to do was something in his diet had to change massively. I know exactly what it was. He had to sacrifice eating foods that were high in carbohydrates and fat. Sugar and fat. Not sugar. Sugar's evil. It's addiction. Oh my God, sugar's coming for us. It's sugar and fat. And he had to replace that with one of 3 things or a combination thereof. He had to replace foods that were high in sugar and fat with foods that were either high in fiber, high in protein, or high in, I'll say, moderate amounts of fat, right? And a combination thereof. So it may have been fat and fiber. It may have been protein and fiber. It could have been even low fat but had really high fiber. Low fat, low protein, but a ton of fiber. Why? Again, I've already said it. He needed to do something to manage his hunger. Americans suck at hunger. We are a society that if you said no snacks, people would lose their mind. So you need to do something to manage hunger, because I'm telling you right now, I've been doing this too damn long. I know it. If you live in America nowadays, you will not manage hunger well. We're not used to it, and there's too many damn resources out there. The second you get hungry, you go fill your belly up with foods that are rich in fat and sugar. So those are my 3 predictions. Lo and behold, I go do my Mike Pompeo research. And what do I find out? I was 100% correct. So here is my Mike Pompeo research. So the first thing I said is something massively had to change about his life. Right? You know what changed about his life? He lost his job. He was, at one time, the director of he was a senator or representative, I can't remember, I think he was a senator. Then he became the head of the CIA. Then he became the Secretary of State. And then he lost his job because the administration he worked for got voted out of office. Now, right now, knock it off. I know right now you're going, oh, yeah, we got him out of office, yeah. Stop the political crap. This is about weight loss, right? The only reason why your guy is thin is because he can't remember where he hid the cookies. So don't act like there's some kind of weight loss superiority here. Right? The guy lost his job. He got elected out. Leave it at that. Don't start a goddamn rally over this. He lost his damn job. So what happened? He went from working 14 hours a day, flying all around the world, and then working another 3 or 4 hours. Like, oh, that's not true. Yeah, that's the way these people are driven. By the way, you think this guy lacks discipline? He was #1 in his class at West Point, graduated West Point. You don't graduate West Point. You don't get into West Point. You don't graduate #1 in your class in West Point unless you have discipline, right? But sometimes, what was that woman from Les Miserables said? It's like, sometimes sometimes you can't win, right? So I can't remember that song. But what the hell did she say again? No one cares, whatever. But you know what I'm saying? Sometimes there's storms you can't weather, I think was her line, right? She dreamed her life would be so much different than the hell she was living. Me too. But the bottom line is, it was too much. So what would he do? He'd work his ass off all day, and then according to him, he'd go have a cheeseburger at night, and he'd fuel himself with, he said, carbohydrate, sugary snacks. But you know as well as I do, it's a combination of sugar and fat. It wasn't like he was sitting there eating Swedish fish to keep himself going. I keep picking on Swedish fish. I apologize. When people go out and start storming their closets for Swedish fish, I put that thought in your head. Right? So he was working too damn much. He was fighting a battle he couldn't win. And he ate it. Look, there's some days I train 9, 10 people in a day, and all I want to do is curl up on the couch and eat a donut. And I'm a goddamn personal trainer. That's too many goddams for one video. I'm a personal trainer. And even I feel that stress of working too many hours, and the only way to self-medicate is sleep and candy. Right? Another thing that changed in his personal life, which you can take from, so if you're working too much, you better watch out what you say your priorities are. If you're working 14 to 16 hours a day on one side of your mouth, and the other side of your mouth saying, oh, I want to lose weight, I want to do whatever it takes to lose weight. Well, obviously you don't want to do whatever it takes to lose weight. Because you're working 10 to 14 hours a day. And you're only human. And since you probably don't smoke and you probably don't drink liquor, and that's not the way you're managing your stress, you're probably seeking higher calorie options than Parliament cigarettes. Okay? So that's important to know. The other thing is his son is getting married. That means he thinks, God willing, he's going to have grandchildren one day. He'd like to live to see those grandchildren. That's a huge motivating factor. The guy was 300 pounds. And he wasn't Lou Ferrigno or Ronnie Coleman or Arnold Schwarzenegger. He was fat 300 pounds. Which means he had an incredible motivational factor going after him, the fact he was that big. He's not a big jack guy. So 300 pounds is a lot of weight to carry around. And the other thing I read about him was, he said he stopped thinking about his diet in terms of the immediate. I know a guy like Lane Norton talks about this concept of immediacy. I don't know, I'll have to watch the video he put out again. This idea of the now. And he started thinking about where my weight loss is going to be, how what I mean today is going to affect me 6 months, a year, 2 years from now. Right? So what he started thinking about was the long-term consequences to his actions, his lack of exercise, his poor diet. The only other people, you know who thinks in 2 to 4 hour windows? Criminals. And it doesn't work out too well for them either. So he started changing everything about what I predicted was right. He lost his job, so he worked less hours. His son was getting married. He also said his wife and his kids supported his weight loss. He was 300 pounds, so he was knocking on heaven's door. All right? And he began to change his mindset about how he related to food and the consequences of it. So right there, boom. There's tons of value right in there for you in terms of how can you use that to lose weight. So thank you, Mike Pompeo, whatever we think about you politically or you think about, I don't care. Okay, the second thing was his workout. He worked out 6 days a week, that's a lot, but only 30 minutes of cardio. He wasn't doing intervals and sprints out in the parking lot and flipping tires, which is all fine, but you're not gonna keep doing that for months and months on straight. He followed 30 minutes of cardio with about 30 minutes of weight training. No personal trainer, no instruction. He's got a bunch of dumbbells and started lifting them. What have I been saying over and over again in these videos? You gotta stop complicating this stuff. In the first year of strength training, whether you lift 60% of your 1 rep max or 90% of your 1 rep max, which is not hard at all, can do this all day long about 15 to 20 times at 60%, or I can do this maybe 1 to 3 times at 90%. It doesn't make a difference. And so this guy is officially in beginner phase. His 30 minutes of cardio every day on his elliptical and his 6 day, whatever he's doing, his weight training, I think he said he's doing 3 days a week of weight training, following just random exercise he probably was learning off the internet, was good enough for now. Look, I love myself. I love my job. I love personal training. I'm not going to go on TV and start screaming at people how I hate my job and everyone owes me more. But the reality is that in the first year of training, it's really, really, really simple. It's just more about follow through. I've done plenty of videos on how to set up an exercise routine, on how simple it is to put one together. And that's all this guy, Mike Pompeo, did. He wasn't doing anything. He wasn't trying to retake Omaha Beach, right? Moderate exercise. Start off 3 days a week at 30 minutes of cardio. Eventually build up to 6 days a week of 45 minutes. And it doesn't make a difference if you do more of it. It's got a massive diminishing return. You just got to follow through on it. It's just exactly what this guy did. All he did was take a moderate, simple exercise program. Not when you have to piss your pants the night before you're going to do the workout because you're terrified of how sick you're going to feel. If you get off on that, if you enjoy that, then God bless you. But I know a majority of people don't manage pain like that. And this guy lost all this weight, 90 pounds in 6 months, by following a moderate exercise program. Don't listen to me. Look at the guy on TV and you'll see how much thinner he is. Right? And the third thing he did was he changed his diet. Probably the most important thing. Now, this is exactly from him. I told you about the cheeseburgers after the 14-hour workday. So he stopped eating cheeseburgers. This is where he kind of pissed me off. I was like, oh, nice cut out cheeseburgers, carbs, and sugar. Well, cheeseburgers are fat bombs. And I'd love to see exactly what all these carbs and sugars were. Unless he was dumping a bag of sugar in his mouth every night, I'm pretty sure it was a combination of fat and sugar. So he cut all that stuff out, but not because he's all, I mean, look, we know, like I said, the guy in the other video said, maybe this video, I can't remember, I ramble too much. He said something as he was the #1 guy in his class at West Point. So we know he has a level of discipline, right? So all he did was follow through consistently on this stuff. In one of the articles, he said he loves going to IHOP and he replaced stacks. Like, key word, even pancakes aren't evil, but when you're eating stacks of them, it can kind of cause a problem. He was eating stacks of pumpkin pancakes and replaced them with egg white omelets and turkey bacon. All right, so again, I'm not a predictive genius. If so, I'd be a professional gambler right now. I won't be doing this. Well, I'd still be doing this. I'd just be doing this with more money. But he basically took something that was high fat and high carbohydrate and replaced it with something that was moderate fat, high in protein. What did I just say? Right? The other thing he said was he still did dinners with his family, but he only ate small amounts of the food, and most of the time he would have a salad, where there's your fiber right there. There's your low-calorie fiber. He still ate small amounts of the food. Again, that's my problem with the stacks of pancakes. Even pancakes aren't evil. It's just when you eat stacks of them, right? This stuff, I wasn't surprised, but I felt kind of full of myself when I read this, because everything he did was simple, and it was just followed through on. And it's the stuff we talk about all the time, right? No cheeseburgers, cut out soda, cut down, I can't say anything about alcohol, but whatever, right? So it's astounding to me. None of this was that complex, but he did it consistently. And the one part that did crack me up in my research was this third one, The Guardian. Now, this apparently is a newspaper, a magazine, or website. My feeling is they don't like Republicans too much, right? I don't know, I got this weird vibe. And I thought it was hilarious. They did an article on him in which they said he did all this, same stuff every other article said, how simplistic his follow-through was. Then they made some insult about it. He had this macho pull himself up by his bootstraps mentality. No. It's not macho bootstraps. It's called taking responsibility for your health and doing simple behaviors every day that accumulate in the end. And by the way, one of the things he did say in one of the other articles was he would give nobody advice on what they need to do to lose weight because losing weight is incredibly personal. And my only beef with that is that when it comes to the principle of weight loss, which is eat less food, then you burn off more, eat less. This offends people. I don't care. I'm not good with feelings. I don't care if that offends you. It's true. Where Pompeo is, I'm sorry, call him Pompeo like he's my buddy. Where Mike Pompeo's right is, the path to this is incredibly personal. But the principle of it doesn't change whether it hurts your feelings or not. You have to eat less. You have to burn more. How you figure that out, this guy Pompeo figured it out, his way of doing it. But he still followed certain principles. So anyway, this Guardian, they talk about all this stuff. Then they say the whole thing about the manly bootstraps and things. And then they say something that, it's like they must hate this guy so much. They can't even report the news correctly. They say to him, experts are skeptical that he lost all this weight in such a short period of time following such a simple program. And I'm going to myself, no, we don't. No expert is surprised at this. This isn't what the experts are telling. See, all the non-experts, all the pretty boys and pretty girls and all the people scream at you on TV, they won't tell you this. All us dopes who are doing these videos with poor quality in our living rooms, we've been saying this for decades. This is all we tell people to do. No experts are saying we can't believe this. This makes perfect sense to us. And they're so mad. They could have been so clever with this, all right? They could have been so clever. They could have said, being that he was a member of the Trump administration, by default, we know he's full of shit. So just by putting more fiber in his diet, he could have lost 40 pounds. Since studies show that the average Trump administration member is full of 40 pounds of shit. They could have been so funny and clever with it, but they had to go down this route of saying, oh no, there's something else going on. There's a conspiracy. Look, maybe the guy did have some kind of surgery. I have no idea. All right? Maybe he was secretly riding an exercise bike for 8 hours a day. I have no idea. But nothing he did and nothing he accomplished, especially considering how overweight he was 300 pounds and not jacked. Right? It's not amazing that he lost that amount of weight in that short period of time. Right? His body was so out of balance, it was doing everything it could to bring him back into some kind of homeostasis balance. So no, the experts are not shocked at this. What we're shocked at is this information is so simple. And hopefully this guy, being famous or infamous as he is, hopefully his weight loss plan being so simple, not easy, simple, right? Sometimes you can't get other family members on board. Sometimes you can't give up your job. You're not willing to do it or willing to work your job differently. You're not willing to give up that battle you can't win, right? But it was very simple what he followed. And that's why I was able to predict it. Not because I'm special, right? But because this is what we see over and over and over again. Regardless of what maybe the Guardian has to say. This is what people who lose weight and keep it off long-term do. Another thing, too, there was one article where it said that he had hurt his foot. Now, I don't know if it's from doing the elliptical too much or maybe he had stubbed his toe on his political enemies. I have no idea. But it's something very interesting he said, so what I've been doing is I'm doing mainly work with my upper body and modifying my cardio so I can still do cardio without putting too much pressure through my foot. That's the simple reality of the exercise program. You just find ways to maintain it. And if, God forbid, something happens, you think and you work around it. You can't walk, you ride the bike. Right? You can't do the elliptical, you walk. You can't do, you figure it out. I say this in my exercise videos. You can't do a shoulder press, then do a side raise or a front raise or a bench press. Something that works similar muscle groups but doesn't hurt you so that you can follow through on it consistently. I'm rambling too much now, so let me just finish out. Again, this isn't meant to be a political video. I know I went off on some of my anger-filled rants. I truly do not have, I don't have a side in this. Right? My disposition is I'm displeased. That's my disposition on this whole thing. But when someone in a very public eye finally gets attention for losing weight in a way we've talked about all the time, I have to bring it to your attention. And if you're serious about this weight loss thing, there's a ton to learn from what this guy did. So take it for that. That's all for today. Thank you for joining our special Daylight Edition video. And I think if I go any longer, I'll say something more insane. So that's the Mike Pompeo weight loss video. Join us next week when we're talking about, according to Google Trends, coffee and lemon. Apparently this is now the new trend in weight loss, is drinking coffee with lemon or coffee and eating lemons. I don't know. I'll go research that, and that'll be my video next week. So thank you very much, and that's it. Goodbye.